Good morning. We are delighted to have each of you here. It is not as chilly as when we gathered here in the snow in November 2018. When we originated this event to honor our locally buried Salina town founders who are also our veterans. We're so glad to have you here today with us during Veterans Day week. Before the mayor takes the mic, I'd like to thank Bell Tree Farm and Michelle and Aaron Peck for donating all the commemorative wreaths we are using today. We also recognize Salina Media Connection, who is partnering with us today to record the ceremony for local news and to be used in future segments about Salina, how Salina began. Mike?
Good morning. I'm Mike Hoppick, the mayor of Salina. I get the honor of leading our community-wide Wreath Lane and Veterans Day ceremony today, here in peaceful but chilly Gypsum Hill Cemetery. Salina was founded in 1858 by adventuresome and courageous pioneers who braved weather, wild animals, and other challenges to establish a community that would one day become the city at the crossroads. However visionary they might have been, I doubt that Salina's founders and those who followed could imagine how much our city would grow and change over time. To accommodate many more families, businesses, other institutions that make up what we know today as Salina and Saline County. In the beginning, 5 town founders from 4 families formed the Salina Town Company. Those 4 families were Campbell, Phillips, Spillman, and Muir. Represented by Alexander M Campbell, Colonel William A. Phillips, his brother David Phillips, James Muir, and Alexander Spillman. They joined together in 1858 to stake out 320 acres of land along the Smoky Hill River. The town site became official in 1859 when the territorial legislature granted Salina's town charter 2 years before Kansas became the 34th state. By 1887, Salina had 3 railroad depots. Readily available transportation led to Salina's growth as a regional trade hub. The city grew from 305 acres to more than 2,300 acres by 1890, growing in population during those 30 years from about 800 people to more than 6,500. Today, Salina is situated at the crossroads of 2 major interstates and is home to Kansas Wesleyan University, K-State Polytechnic, and Salina Area Technical College, plus major manufacturing and businesses such as Schwann's, Exide, Great Plains Manufacturing, and Vortex, plus more than 60 churches and nonprofits, many of which were founded by longtime Salina families. We gather today to honor and mark the graves of the 3 Salina town founders buried here, and to note the contributions of them as a few others that were veterans. The museum staff for you today has a booklet of these early leaders and others who are here in Gypsum Hill, which influenced and shaped Salina. The first town founder we honor today is Alexander M. Campbell. Campbell joined his future brother-in-law, William Phillips, and their friend James Muir to lay out the preliminary survey of Salina in March 1858. That summer, William's sister, Christina Phillips, joined the men as the only permanent female resident in the area. She and Alexander Campbell were married that fall in Riley City by a district judge. Often called the mother of Salina, Christina Addison Phillips Campbell helped Alexander run a trading post and had a reputation among the local Native Americans for being very fair. It was known by some that Christina was strict about observing the Sabbath, but loved fishing and hunting more than doing homework. Alexander was Saline County's first postmaster, collecting and dispensing long-awaited area mail to their trading post store. David L. Phillips was the younger brother of Colonel William A. Phillips, who we'll talk about in a moment. David was one of the 5 original members of the Salina Town Company. Although his monument rests here in Gypsum Hills, his body does not, as David's disappearance as an adult is still a mystery. In June 1883, Phillips left Salina on a trip to Washington Territory through California. While traveling by train through the Arizona desert, he became distraught, saying he had been robbed. At the Volcano Springs stop, Phillips jumped from the train without his hat, shoes, or coat and ran into the barren landscape. Although David's family spent considerable time and money to find him, he was never located. His reasons for vanishing remain unknown. Some consider Colonel William A. Phillips, David's older brother, to be the primary force of Salina's founding in 1858. Born in Scotland, Phillips came first to Illinois with his parents and siblings in 1839. A Free State spokesman during the Kansas territorial days, Phillips was a New York Tribune war correspondent for publisher Horace Greeley. Later, Phillips earned distinction as the commander of the 3rd Indian Home Guards. After the Civil War, Phillips served as legal counsel for the Cherokee Nation, then as the 74th District Representative to the Kansas Legislature. Then a member at large in the U.S. House of Representatives, Phillips had 2 wives and 9 children, but is buried here near just 2 of his relatives. His mother, Christiana Phillips, known by early settlers as Grandma Phillips, and his nephew, Maxwell Phillips Jr. The monument to Phillips remembers 3 of his children who died young. Benjamin J.F. Hanna and Margaret Phillips Hanna made many contributions to early Salina. Ben was an outspoken newspaperman with strong abolitionist views. When the Civil War began, President Lincoln appointed him quartermaster of the United States Volunteers. While Hanna was away during the war, Margaret lived with her brothers, William and David, or her mother, Christina Phillips. Margaret owned the first and only sewing machine for miles around. She is remembered for sewing an American flag that was flown in the middle of town to demonstrate Salina's Union loyalties. After the war, Ben and Margaret established a permanent home, and in 1867, Hanna founded the town's first newspaper, the Salina Herald, printed on a hand press from a building on East Iron Avenue. Oscar and Johanna Seitz immigrated to Kansas from Kassel, Germany. Oscar served as a Union soldier during the Civil War. Afterward, he was advised to make a home and a life in Salina. He established his drug and chemical business, Seitz Drug Store, before the railroad reached Salina in 1867, which helped him rapidly prosper. After courting Joanna by correspondence, Oscar brought her across the ocean to be his wife. Joanna adapted well to Kansas, enriching Salina with her love of music. She owned the first piano in town, which was frequently transported by wagon to dances and parties. The family's drugstore, the Seitz Real Estate Company, and the Seitz Shoe Store were longtime fixtures in downtown Salina. The couple had 8 children. Among other Salina pioneers we want to recognize today is August Bondi, who was a guerrilla fighter with abolitionist John Brown during the days of Bleeding, Kansas. Of Jewish faith, Bondi was born in Germany and fought at age 15 in a Hungarian war for liberty. Exiled as a result, Bondi and his family arrived in New Orleans in 1848, then came to St. Louis via the Mississippi River. After several years working as a clerk, typist, and teacher, Bondi was drawn to Kansas in 1855 by Sunflower State border struggles between pro-slavery and pro-state factions. Bondi fought with John Brown in the Battle of Black Jack and briefly joined a band of freedom fighters who called themselves Jayhawks. After serving in the Union Army during the Civil War, Bondi brought his family to Salina, where he opened a grocery and later purchased land. During the years here, he was a land clerk, postmaster, school board member, and a local court judge. And he has also practiced law. Bondi was best known for his political integrity and idealism. In addition to his grave in Gypsum Hill, he is recognized by a historical marker at the northwest corner of the Smoky Hill Museum, downtown.
Today we are honored to have the Very Reverend David B. Hodges, Dean of the Episcopal Catholic Church, a well-known, very historic church, with us today to give a commemorative Veterans Day week blessing on this gathering and over the town founders we are honoring today. This concludes our second ever commemorative wreath laying ceremony for Veterans Day week. If you have enjoyed this opportunity to learn and think about Salina's town founders and our community and its history, let us know so we can consider doing it again. The Smoky Hill Museum is located in downtown Salina and is the official repository for Salina and Saline County artifacts and stories about our town's special people. Thank you for joining us today. We give special thanks to Mayor Mike Hoppick, to the Very Reverend David Hodges, and to the Salina Media Connection team. We also thank Bell Tree Farm and the staff of Gypsum Hill Cemetery and Salina Parks and Recreation. Please visit the museum soon. It and the museum store are open each week, Tuesday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturday 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Thank you and have a very blessed Veterans Day week.